in your experience, in your opinion,
Hmm.
why, just simply, why would kids' mental health kind of take a toll heading back to school? Like, why don't you think kids want to go back to school in your
Yeah,
experience?
why wouldn't kids want to go back to school? They should love school, right? Not to mention they had this great long summer where it wasn't probably structured in their life. They got to enjoy time with friends and family. They got to read what they want, look at what they want, watch all the TV they want. Why wouldn't they not want to go to a structured environment where you have assignments, deadlines, and tests? I can't figure out one reason. Well, all jokes aside, thinking about our little, so our elementary kids, there's many reasons why school and starting school might be difficult for them. One, again, they spend most of their time with their families and friends for about 2 months. And for a lot of our young ones, especially those ones starting kindergarten, first grade, this is their first time going to a structured long-term environment and being separated from their parents and friends for hours. So you might see separation anxiety, worry in these kids. And so that's one of the reasons, like, what might come next? I'm not with parents. I can't be soothed as quickly. I don't know everybody. I don't know the teachers. These are all worries that our littles face, but believe it or not, our middle school and teens face it as well.
I was going to ask you about that. I know anxiety and things like that, they don't discriminate with age.
No.
So, parents of older kids who may think they're kind of out of it, what do you have to say to them, like, to look out for, I guess?
Well, worries are still there. Like, so you may not have it like our little saying, my tummy hurts in the morning, and we know that's the kid worrying about school. With our older kids, you might see them sluggish, start in the morning late. You might see sleep disrupted, avoidance of certain classes, avoidance of certain teachers, moaning and groaning about the idea of going to school before school starts, a repetitive conversation like, I wonder how history would be. I wonder if I'll make the team. I wonder if certain friends will be there. So that's their way of saying that they are genuinely worried about something, and it is a sign of anxiety.
Um, I want to bring something back that we were kind of talking about off
Yeah,
camera that really piqued my interest, I guess.
sure.
Little kids, they're not going to come right out and say, I have anxiety about going to school. You were talking about them expressing more physical symptoms. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I mean, that would be great if our 9-year-olds, our 6-year-olds could say, hey, Mom, I am dealing with anxiety right now, and I would not like to go to second grade class today, right? That would be great. But with our littles, they usually have physical symptoms. Stomach problems, so my tummy hurts, you'll hear that a lot. And there's actually science behind it. So one of the, we call them neurotransmitters that's responsible for mood is called serotonin. And most of the serotonin is not in the brain, it's actually in the gut. So they aren't actually telling the truth, and it is genuinely a sign of worry and anxiety in your child. Now, the beautiful thing, after a couple of weeks, that anxiety, that worry should subdue, it should resolve. If it doesn't, that might be time to seek a professional for help.
Um, Before we get to that point of seeking professional help, what can parents do if they're noticing some change in their kids, they're noticing kids being nervous or anxious? What are some good first steps for parents to take?
So it's a couple things. We'll go with the group. So if it's a elementary age student, one with all kids, actually make time for them to talk, right? So set time in your day to ask them about school, ask them about what they're worried. Don't go quickly to rationalizing it. Don't go quickly to a solution. Just listen, normalize it. And I would say, because we're talking about anxiety, I would not have that conversation right before they go to sleep. The reason being they're going to worry about it, it's going to mess with their sleep. So make time in the day to actually talk about their day, normalize their experience. Don't rush to judgment, but just actually take time to listen. Because this is a normal process and is likely to improve within a few weeks. I will also say for our kids first starting school, or transitioning to a different school, so our kids starting elementary school, our kids starting middle school and high school, it may be worthwhile if it's helpful for that kid to visit the school beforehand. So visit a school where there's no kids around, kind of drive around there, see what the school, that might bring some calm in there. Again, that's part of you knowing your kid, because some kids that could bring more anxiety. But if it works better for your kid to kind of visit it with a friend or walk through the school with you, or you be introduced to the principal with the kid, that might be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to I know you kind of focus your work with children, but parents who may be nervous to send their kids to school, maybe it's their kids' first day of preschool or kindergarten and they're so nervous about how they're going to respond. Do you have anything maybe to tell parents to kind of ease their minds? Like, school overall should be a happy time, a good thing. Do you have anything to say around
Well,
that?
that's a deep question because it really depends, right, about the parents' own experience with school and how they looked at it. They may remember it as a difficult and challenging time, and maybe thinking that kid will face that. I would suggest that each kid experience is different, and it may not be your experience. I think the beautiful thing parents can do is to set the kid up well. A nice little card or personalized letter in their lunch, making their lunch for them, having them help you with make the lunch for them is a really way to show love and care with a special message in there. I always, and this is don't get mad at this, but I always say for that first day, a carb dense item such as a muffin goes a long way. Especially if it's homemade, if you're into that, it shows a level of love and care that will carry with that kid at least through the rest of the day. And that's your way of being with your child without actually being there with them. And again, I want to emphasize that your experience as a parent in school may be different from your own child's experience.
How should parents, I guess, let's say the kid isn't exhibiting any symptoms of anxiety, but they kind of want to get out ahead of it and bring up these conversations. I know school starts next week, so maybe around this time.
Sure.
Hey, how are you feeling about school? Things like that. One, is this a good idea? Or is it going to make them more nervous? Or two, how do you do this?
Well, I think it's good to recognize your kid's life. I think the kid does know school is starting. I'm sure the commercials, I know every time around this year, I see the commercials and I get nervous and I'm out of school. So kids are fully aware that school is starting and you should talk about it. You should ask about it. I would say, don't be over the top with it, but definitely set some time in they say, how do you feel about school, and see where they go with it. Do you have, what are your classes like for our older kids? Are any classes you're concerned about? And just see where they go with it. Again, part of the whole school process is picking out school supplies, sometimes getting clothes. I would say try to turn that into a loving, exciting experience to have a kid excited about school. And if they're not, try to partner with another kid. Do you want to bring your friend with you? I'll bring your friend with this, and have anchoring points. So if it's a school event that you think your kid will like an after school event, encourage them to attend that. Drive them to it. Say, I'll be there. I won't sit with you if you're a teen because you want them to be cool, unless you have a relationship like that. Say, I'll drop you off. I'll be kind of 3 rows down if you need me, but support that. Have an anchoring event to support them in school. Well, school is interesting. I usually, at least in my world, September, October is usually when we see a lot of challenges, because that gives the kids enough time to get more involved socially. Grades start to be a bigger issue. You start to get midterms, so a lot of stressors in there. So I usually time these things. So the first month, some anxiety, maybe going to the second, third month, academic pressures start to kick in. So I start kind of seeing kind of the academic challenges come in. And then somewhere October, homecoming, these big social events start to kick up. So you usually start seeing problems in that end. What I would say for a parent, just be engaged in the kid. Have anchoring points will work well for the child. Times you're going to talk to the kid about school each day.
Gotcha. I want to kind of switch gears and talk about something new we're seeing this year with, especially here in Indiana, this bell-to-bell cell phone ban.
Yes.
I know that cell phones do bring a lot of issues, especially with mental health, social media, things like that. But at the same time, in today's world at least, it's comforting for teens, I guess, to have their cell phone on them. I know parents are worried, can I get in contact with my kid, things like that. Can you kind of provide some perspective on this, things you're seeing? Maybe are you worried about anything? Just kind of let's get into that.
Yeah, I mean, my humble opinion, I think it's the right way to go. One, we obviously know cell phones affect the mental health of children. So, increased social media and cell phone use has been linked to depression, anxiety. We know this. And also reading comprehension scores. So it is the right thing to limit or even ban cell phone use during school. But it does come with some things to consider, right? So I know there's exemptions in it, but for the parent and the kid, that might be a challenge. So some kids genuinely have a challenge with cell phones that could equate to other mental health issues, right? So I'm careful to say the word addiction, but leading to that point where it is a problem. So how would you manage that as a teacher, a principal? I want to make sure that when we do think about the cell phone bans and actually having a disciplinary structure around there, that we think about how we can psychologically help that child. Because the child may genuinely have an issue with social media and cell phone overuse. So we want to make sure we're therapeutic about that. And the same thing for a parent, right? The parent, it's a way that you're somewhat disconnecting the kid from the parent. So that might increase anxiety on their end. That might increase worry on their end as well. So even with this new ban, which I think is the right way to go, we want to be therapeutic when we're talking about disciplining around that.
So it seems like, obviously this will disconnect the kid from their parent during the day.
Yes.
But it seems like what you're saying is overall, that face-to-face conversation with your child after school, before school, whenever, is kind of the way to go, it seems like.
Right, and then with the cell phone ban, just going back to that, this would be something I would bring up with my teen. With cell phone is a privilege, and it should be something that's discussed, because this is brand new. It's another factor added to school. Will that cause them worry and anxiety? This is a talking point for parents that they should be talking about this week, because there is a big change, and you want your kid aware of it. Some kids may not be as aware of it, but that is a real thing, and there are benefits to it. It helps a kid be present, more engaged in the lesson, more amped to start like real life social interaction. So there is positives to this. But there's an asterisk. Maybe the kid was texting for reassurance to his parents through the day, and that's being taken away from them. So it should be something that's talked about in all households in Indiana.
When should parents know that maybe it's time to, going back to our first conversation, maybe seek some professional help? Sure. Or seek out those resources? Are there a couple of red flags that come to mind where parents are like, okay, maybe I shouldn't handle this on my own, we should seek help?
So yeah, again, the first couple weeks you expect some rumblings with our elementary age, middle school, high school kids. So you expect some bit of anxiety, especially if you're first starting school as an elementary. If in the 2-3 weeks that doesn't go away, I would say it's time to seek help. If those outbursts are severe, so we think about elementary age kids having huge tantrums where it's disruptive to the whole school, you don't see a reduction in that, that's time to seek help. Again, with our older children, same thing. Where if it's quite disruptive, even not having a cell phone, if they are making comments that lead to depression or allude to depression, is something to think about. That you need to seek help sooner than later.
In your experience, are there resources? I know, like, you guys and throughout the city, but are there resources at the school? Maybe they should talk to counselors or the teachers. What, in your opinion, could they start at the school?
So that's a good point. So remember, our teachers, our guidance counselors, our principals, our coaches are the eyes and ears at the school. So teachers, have this long history of knowing, like, this is more severe than I've seen in the past. So they're going to be the first to see that. I would suggest, one, obviously, if a teacher sees kind of a kid having severe disciplinary actions or not adjusting like other kids have been in the past, them to reach out, connect with the child's parents, because they're going to be the eyes and ears. And then part of that is the parents actually having a good communication with the teachers, coaches, vice principal, and principal. They're going to be monitoring the kid throughout the day, so they're going to really see how the kid acts outside of the home. Remember, the kid might be completely different in the home. So guidance counselors, of course, are experts at recognizing these things and actually providing resources for additional help. But teachers are probably going to be the first ones to see it in class.
Absolutely. I kind of want to cap off this whole discussion. I don't know if you have anything along the lines to say of to maybe any families who are watching all together, any kids, any parents, just about how school, yes, it brings some of these aspects, this social life, this homework, things like that, but also school can be a place to make friends and learn and grow. Do you have anything kind of in summary to kind of cap off, maybe ease some stress there?
Sure. So obviously school brings a lot, right? So some nervousness. Even though I'm not in school, it's still that feeling of nervousness every time I see an Old Navy commercial or some commercial saying back to school supplies. It represents still in my mind, just like I think any parents or kids mind, that summer fun, and I want to put an emphasis on fun is over. But I want to challenge that. It actually introduces fall fun. So it's fun with meeting new friends, getting new challenges, getting new opportunities to grow as a person. So, school does come with its positive challenges, and they all can be navigated with a loving family, a caring support network, and that's what teachers, principals, coaches, paraprofessionals are all there for. And if things get, even more difficult, that's what we are here for. So as professionals that take care of children and family mental health, we're here to help. But school overall, is a positive thing, and we're fortunate in this country that, our schools usually don't cost as much or is tax-free. So I would challenge every kid to take advantage of that, every parent to promote school. Some of the worst things you can do is take a kid away from that, and based off your own experience. So I would say if you see a kid worried about going to school, see if you can help that kid work through, reach out to the teachers and the principals and the guidance counselors beforehand. And if things get too much after weeks, then reach out to a professional. But school overall should be an exciting and positive experience for families, and we want to support that.